relocate a bunch of their resources by giving them a couple of civs, so it's not too bad. We're second. Wow, we're actually so far behind. Look at the size of that. Fortunately, the Covenant of the Mediterranean is not a faction built to last. It's only meant to unite people against the Fourth International, and it's a bunch of different ideologies and different ideas, so it's not going to last. Peace conference? Oh, it must be the Soviet Union. I might have to do some meddling in that peace deal. The peace deal's kind of annoying because it impacted my war, but that's fine. We'll just get the land back. The peace deal in Europe was a lot better than I expected. Italy annexed much of Central Europe and India, while Germany obtained their former as well as the Russian Federation being democratic. In Central Asia, things got a bit messy, so I cleaned it up a bit to make the border. Oh my god, they released the Penis Province. No way for Uzbekistan. The faction situation looks like this. However, I think people are going to start. Oh, I can invite more people. Australia. I can invite Australia. I had a bunch of Indian states that got released. It turns out the peace deal was really good for me. A lot of the democracies released a bunch of Asian countries, so I got to invite more of them. I can invite Afghanistan. I can invite so many more now. They accept all the stray democracies that don't do it themselves. Accept. Good, our faction is growing. Also, I got peace conferences on, so I got to decide northern China. Although it looks like I annexed China, I really think to do it very soon. I just saw the warlord. It's cool. Oh, that's okay. Now, I could have released them all under one China, and that means I get to annex it a lot faster. However, by releasing the puppets as a bunch of warlord states, it means they get to build up their own industry, so when I annex them, I'm going to have a way bigger industry. Also, the Bayern League left the Mediterranean Covenant really quickly, but that means I got to invite them into my faction, and they accepted. Also, I cleaned up Central Asia a bit. I didn't like how Uzbekistan Oh dear. Oh no. And finally, the Dutch East Indies. Unfortunately, they won't accept this. They're not even a puppet of anyone, so I think that maybe the decision is broken, but yeah, I don't get Indonesia, which is annoying. Anyway, that would be the end of 1944, and who knows what the world is going to do next. A democratic revolution took over Russia, but they still probably want their former lands. Meanwhile, the Covenant of the Mediterranean is a fractured alliance that is going to disband any second. Okay, 1945. Now, I think I can get on to making this federation in the focus tree here. So I just got to do this, then this, then this. I don't have to do that, and then I have to do this. Through this process, we can annex different countries and get wars on their land, making us very powerful. Yeah. They really need to do more federative democratic paths in this mod because, you know, it actually makes a democracy strong. Anyway, Russia has gone back in on the Nordic Alliance. Why does this still have to be called the British Raj? It's kind of annoying. The Democratic, they should be India now. Bad move by Russia. They still have their army, I just don't know why it's not fighting Finland. However, I saw this as a pretty good opportunity to try and take some of my claims, like Northern Sakhalin and Vladivostok, which isn't my claim, but I want it. I can do strike the old rival. That's 70 days though. Do we get bonuses? Second, also... For the peace deal, I still want kind of a strong Russia, so I left them mostly alone. I just took North Sakhalin, maybe Vladivostok, and I gave Finland, Big Finland. Also liberating Latvia and much of Central Asia. I feel like that makes sense if I just leave Russia like that. Liberating Central Asia is really good for me because I can invite them into my faction. So now the West Pacific Treaty Organization reaches as far as Kazakhstan. I did an economic integration with all of my alliance members. Now I can spend political power to turn them into my puppet and more political power to finally annex them. Oh, this is how we get puppets. Increasing their economic dependency. I completed the Greater East Asian Federation focus, and now we're a cool yellow colour with a brand new flag. There we go. 200 political power to do that though. Dang. Expensive. And I can integrate Vladivostok if I want. Hey, but we need compliance. We are going to be saving political power for a while. I'll tell you that if we want to annex everyone. Oh, China is such a total integration. Yeah, and the Philippines is my puppet. Yes, there's 41 divisions. The Free Democratic... What is this? The Free Democratic... They're not in a faction. Wait, they left our faction. Unfortunately, Manchuria has pursued the path of communism, which we cannot allow. And as the guarantor of freedom of all of its agents, we must put this state to an end. The Northeastern Army. Wait, they're at war with my faction. Guys, let's go. And well, with the odds weighed well in our favour, it did not take long for them to capitulate. Finally, they capitulated. Instead of puppeting them, I annexed them because I have cores on their land anyway, so there's no point puppeting them just to annex them later with the same cores. Next on my annexing list was Sichuan and Korea. Over in Europe, the two factions that are still there, the Nordic Alliance and the Mediterranean Alliance, are at each other's throats. Korea accepts total integration. Nice. What? France were just communists. Now they've gone Orleanist? At this point, I don't know what France is doing. Maybe they'll make their own faction, or they left the Mediterranean one, so who knows. Yet another thing is about to go our way. Because France were monarchist, all of the Indo-Chinese countries started rebelling. And look, if there's a role that my country plays in Asia, it's definitely supporting these guys to rebel. Laos, yes. Okay, the Philippines accepted total integration, lovely. It turns out they all rebelled, and there's no French land left, so it's not like there's anything to take. Either way, I asked them to join my faction, which most of them accepted, except for Cambodia, because they're communist, but that put me and my faction at war with France. Also, I'm eyeing up the Mediterranean faction, because Italy has a colonial empire in India and Turkmenistan. Whoa, stuff's happening. Covenant of the Mediterranean is fighting France. Back to integrating Yunnan. Let's do that. So now they've created their own faction with the anti-fascist bloc. Right. Okay. Well, they're going to lose to this covenant. They're going to lose. France ended up capitulating pretty quickly despite making a faction no longer joined. And because I had no war score, I had to tag over in the peace deal and do the peace deal for other countries. I gave Italy land, I gave Germany land, and I gave Germany France. Because Germany did most of the work, I gave Germany a French puppet while they annexed Alsace-Lorraine, and then Italy got some lands in Savoy. Anyway, that's the end of this year. If you notice there's 0% world tension, not much is happening yet. However, I decided to do what I call a world reset, where I set up new alliances and essentially create new powers based off this current world. We have a fascist Iraq, which is meant to become the United Arab Republic, going on Jordan, Palestine, and Lebanon. Oh, and the UAR's going in on... Okay, yeah, the UAR is actually trying to establish the United Arab Republic, because they're going on the Soviet Republic of Nile. I gotta support this Nordic Council. They're definitely... They've got to be our friends. They're democratic. Unfortunately, the Nordics are very far away from me, and there's not much I can do. Sending volunteers, maybe, but I don't think I have enough divisions that I could send that will change the tide. Also, guess which country is causing problems? Taiwan! Yes, they're refusing to join my federation, and instead want to be a part of the Covenant of the Mediterranean, despite being all the way in the Pacific. Sweden capitulated. Yeah, they're going to take them out. Because if you look at the ideology map, that Covenant faction is so divided. It's democracy, fascism, and communism in one faction. Also, Germany went in on Spain, which they split with Italy, so now we have a democratic Spain in the west and the Italian Empire in the east. They made a third section, which is just a dumb peace deal, so I got rid of that. Then the last of the Nordic countries capitulated, and the whole faction disappeared, along with the Mediterranean one too. Oh, they left them democratic. They just disbanded the faction. Where's the Covenant of the Mediterranean? It's gone. I don't know, but that fact, I knew it wasn't going to last. I told you guys. It's like, look at this. There's like 3 different ideologies in here. There's no way that's going to last. Taiwan is on its own now. I just realized. Of course. We could so invade Taiwan. Along with Taiwan, I started preparing invasions of the Italian Empire in Asia. Then we hit 1949, and we actually got the end game screen. At 1949, the game ends. Is this me? You continue game, no further score will be recorded. And for me, this game is not over, so of course we're going to continue. However, I do what I said before, a world reset, and then I increase world tension so things will actually happen. So I've set up some new factions and some old factions, making them again, to create a kind of post-war scenario, although it still looks like a very big... It doesn't look like a post-war scenario at all. But this is what I've done. So I've got my more specific treaty organization, of course, we're going to try and integrate all this. I remade the Mediterranean Pact. I forgot what it was called before, so I've just called it that. And I that consists of Turkey and Italy, mostly. Then I created the European Union, led by Germany, which is all this, and then the 4 Russian states, and half of Spain. Spain is divided. And then I created a Russian Liberation Pact. So and they're actually pretty strong. They have like over 100 divisions, so the Russia isn't weak anymore. Okay, I made them actually like strong. And then we have, obviously, in America. I left America the same. I just left them as this, everything they had before, and same with Brazil, they're still fighting Chile. I left that alone. So yeah, this is like the new world I've got. I think the United Arab Republic is going to join the Mediterranean faction anyway. It does make sense. I mean, they're fascists, just like Italy. Now, the whole idea is that Russia is going to try and reclaim its former land, putting them at war with the European Union, but the Mediterranean Pact is also going to declare war on the European Union. Meanwhile, I don't know what I'm going to do. Definitely invade Italy and Taiwan. However, that's a problem because as a democracy, I can only invade people who have generated world tension. Now I can restore security. Look at this. I have all of the resources I need. Perfect. Modify the economic miracle. I did that. So good. Alright. Vietnam accepts total integration. There we go. We got 6 more divisions. I wish I could justify on the Dutch East Indies, but I can't because they haven't generated any world tension. They're keeping to themselves, so I can't do anything. Anyway, I designed a bunch of modern tanks and self-propelled artillery, anti-air, anti-tank, etc. I ended up having too many factories at this point, okay? I did not have the resources to produce the amount of stuff, so I couldn't even use all my military factories that I built. Average civ breeding experience. You have too many military factories to know what to do with now. Now, I've got... This is good, right? Armor. 73. Maybe it could be a bit better. A war between Germany and the Mediterranean Pact broke out, including the UAR now. Russia has declared war on Ukraine, thus the European Union. Russia is reclaiming its land. Look at that. Now, I do not want the European Union to fall, okay? They're my friends in Europe, so I'm going to try and stop Russia from being powerful, so declaring war on them and the Italian Empire would make sense. I mean, I probably should come to the defense of the European Union. I really should, and I can invade Russia. On to some less relevant news. A Dominican Republic and Haiti formed Hispaniola. That's a thing that happens, and I just didn't expect it to happen in my game. Firstly, I declared war on the Italian Empire, trying to reclaim the colonies that they've got in Asia. Unfortunately, it was a bit too late for the European Union. Germany capitulated, and Sweden is going to fall to Russia. There we go, the Raj accepted total integration. Beautiful, and that is like 135 divisions and all my 500 in the army. It's safe to say that this path is quite overpowered, especially when you have a bunch of free subjects in Asia that you can just make your puppet and integrate. I can invite Taiwan, let's go, finally. I keep inviting Malaysia, but they keep leaving. It's probably because they're communist, that does make sense. Taiwan refuses to join us. Yep, I should have seen that coming. While the European Union was on its final legs, I kept integrating countries, growing stronger. By now, the European Union capitulated, and the Mediterranean Pact and Russia split the winnings. And of course, I tweaked the peace deal to make it look aesthetically pleasing. I could release like some puppets, but I think the Italian Empire just annexing all is fine. With Russia's European land successfully reclaimed all the way to Poland, it only makes sense that they turn to Vladivostok next. We're still at war with Italy, and it turns out my Thailand puppet landed in Africa, so I guess we're sending divisions there. War in South America finally finished up, where Brazil capitulated, and the Americans and Chile alliance split Brazil. And they just spawned in the Peru-Bolivian Confederation. Oh, wow, look at this. Let's strike the old Russia. I don't care. Australia accepts total integration. Good. Anyway, I declared war on Russia, and they're definitely not weak. In fact, they were pushing me back to begin with. Oh, the worst thing about annexing your allies is you have no one to fight wars for you. What? Russia's in the Mediterranean Pact now? Now this kind of does make sense. Russia uniting with Italy, who I'm already at war with, would just be logical. Now the entire Mediterranean Pact is here. That's not fair. Anyway, I was looking at the faction leaderboard, and we're not even second, we're third. We're below the Treaty of Reciprocal Assistance and the Mediterranean Pact. Oh, Central Asia has accepted total integration. And you know what? Who can play that game? If Russia and Italy are going to unite into the same faction, why not myself and America? Just invite America. I should. At this point, they merged. So why can't I merge? It's time. We're merging. They joined. They merged. Oh yeah, we're calling in Daddy America. Now with American support, pushing into Russia is back on the table. I also deployed all of the planes I had in reserve, so we're going to win the air. So I could eventually reach the Mediterranean. If we could get to Algeria, then we could Spain and France. I managed to reach a cut, but one way to go to Siberia. I don't even know if it's war. I would much rather invade Europe directly. That was my plan A, and Siberia is my plan B. I began fixing up the supply in Siberia just in case, you know. And I mean, there's no harm in pushing into it anyway. I can do both, invade the Mediterranean and this. By now, my army in Africa had reached Algeria, and I could bring my navy around and we could try and invade Portugal. Also, the Americans were doing invasions, so I wasn't alone here. For generals wherever we can. Alright, look at this. The Americans are pushing into France. So naturally, I sent over some divisions to go and help that invasion. Unfortunately, it didn't work out too well, and I ended up losing them all. Dang it. Alright, they've repelled us there. Actually repelled us there. It seems like this is a war. I continued trying to push to Algeria, but the Italian defense was so they invaded Iran. So now I've got I decided to invade Spain. Actually, I took to get my navy into the Mediterranean. At the same time, we were so close to getting the Italians out of Algeria, and things were looking good once again. We're winning the Italian Navy, which is good. Despite pushing to Spain a little bit, the invasion failed yet again, and we're back to square one in Europe. And now I have a portion of my navy stuck in the Mediterranean, and I'm not so sure if they're going to sink everything. As you can see, I moved them out of the Western Mediterranean, and they start sinking. Venezuela and Colombia want to join the faction. At this point, you know what, anyone can join, it's just a disaster. Next year, my intention was to turn back to Russia, and we'd make a lot more progress. Why are my boats here? Why are they there? I specifically tell them to not go here. Why are they here? And Kampuchea accepted our invitation, called arms. Alright, cool, they're in the war. So now I actually can't leave the faction, and I can now subjugate them some more. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's, that hurts. Every time we're trying to run. A lot of our navy has sunk in the bottom of the Mediterranean, and now they've invaded the Rif, which is, you know, that strip of land that's Gibraltar in Africa, and we're about to get encircled. Dude, they're all dead. So I kept building supply in Siberia every time we advanced, and now we're pushing again. But when I hit the Urals, I don't see it going any further. So next year will be the last year, and I would agree to a ceasefire. Alright, let's continue attacking. Let's just put it all on play and see what happens. Seems to be mostly green. But then it turns red, so that's not good. Anyway, this game is starting to get to a point. I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. So I decided that we would agree to a ceasefire along the current borders, and that would be that. I don't know if I can do this anymore, guys. I don't know. It's getting to a point. And so, after a bunch of conditional surrenders that I forced out of my enemy, combined with player-led peace conferences, I was able to simulate somewhat of a peace deal. I annexed everything up to the Urals in Kazakhstan, keeping all of the federations, or the countries inside of my federation. I let Italy control North Africa, while I kept control of the Sub-Saharan Africa. Alright, anyway, thank you guys for watching. That's going to be the end of this. Cool world? Kind of cool world, I guess? So yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed.
It's been such a long time since I've been out on my own. Bittersweet to be so free and alone. Kind of feel like the to feel sorry myself. Makes you wanna double or the Scotch. quicksands faster than sinking. I'm leaving behind all of the cares that I've been overthinking. Find friends in my mind, stay unaware just as long as I'm dreaming. Love in a bottle, love in a bottle. Don't need love when it comes in a bottle. Strut when you're bluffing, double or nothing. Laugh it up, la 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 la. Love is in the eyes of the beholder. She never lies or screws you over. It goes down the same every time. You need someone to hand your chips. And abandoned ship, you're jumping for the water, and it's all 100 proof. Love in a bottle, love in a bottle. Don't need love when it comes in a bottle. Strut when you're bluffing, double or nothing. Laugh it up, la 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 la. Love in a bottle, love in a bottle. Can't have love when it comes in a bottle. Home in a bottle, numb in a bottle. I don't need nothing that's not from a bottle.